Today I'm going to show you how to install the relay rack onto your RipRacer. So here's what you need. You're going to need the rack, some zip ties, four bolts, and 2 washers, a 10 and 8 millimeter open wrench, cable extension for the tail light, tri-Allen tool, a 6 millimeter Allen wrench, and scissors. Before working on your bike, you should make sure the battery is off and actually remove it. First, you start by removing the bolt and washer that are securing the taillight bracket onto the frame. Pull the taillight connection out from the frame here and disconnect it. Now we're going to remove the taillight from the bracket. Okay, start by removing the nuts and washers from the back of the taillight. Use the 8 millimeter side of the open-ended wrench. And make sure to save the nuts and washers for later. We're going to install the taillight onto the rack itself. Now we're going to install the taillight onto the rack. Push the cable through the opening. Tail light on, and now we're going to reuse the nuts and washers to attach it to the rack. First, install the washers, then by hand tighten the nuts down. Use the 8 millimeter side of your wrench and tighten down the nuts. Make sure both nuts are tight and the tail light is secured onto the rack. Now we're going to get the extension cable. You're going to take the male end and we're going to hook it into the female end of the tail light. There's little arrows. Try to line up those little arrows. Snap it in. Now we're going to connect the cable to the rack itself using zip ties. And just make sure the zip ties are on there, not too tight, just kind of loose. You don't want to damage the cable if you cinch down the zip ties too tight. You should have the cable connected with 6 zip ties. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now we're going to clip off the extra length of zip ties. Be careful not to accidentally cut the cable itself. Now we're going to attach the rack to the frame. Line up the rack holes with the frame holes up here. Take your M8 bolt and washer, and by hand tighten them into the frame. Bolt and washer, line it up. All right, now you're going to line up the hole on the lower rack here using your M8 bolt. Line it up and screw it in by hand. And then the other side also the same. Okay, after you've tightened these down by hand, you can take your 6mm side of your tri tool and start to tighten down the bolts. When you get it pretty tight, you can also use your L Allen key, 6mm L Allen key, to make sure it's really tight. We want to make sure these are super tight. Tighten the top bolts with the 6mm side of your Allen wrench. Use the 6mm L Allen to make sure they're really, really tight. Now make sure to tighten the opposite side, again with your 6mm side of your Allen tool. Do the bottom, then the top, and then you can use the L Allen key, the 6mm, to finish it off. Get it as tight as you can. There. Find the cable coming out of the controller from the seat tube here. Line up the arrows. Snap it in. Now we're going to check that the tail light is working. We're going to turn the battery on and install the battery onto the bike. Make sure you line it up with the lower dock. Make sure you line the notches up. Turn the key. Snap the battery in. Turn on your LCD. Press the plus sign to turn on the lights. Make sure the tail light is on, and then press on the brake. Make sure the brake light function also works. Before you ride, check to make sure the rack is secure on here. And the weight limit on this rack is 65 pounds. It is not meant to have a passenger on it. Anytime you have cargo on there, make sure it is also strapped down and secure. Now you're all set to ride on your RipRacer with your relay rack, and thanks for watching.